Hey guys, welcome back to Double D in the Morning, and this is Double D in the Friday Morning, episode 43, The History of Cartoons, part 34, The Story of Craig Bartlett. He was born in Seattle, Washington on October 18, 1956. After graduating from the Evergreen State College in Olympia, Washington, in the mid-80s, he got his first job at Will Vinton Studios doing stop-motion animation, similar to the Robot Chicken Show style of animation, but this was back in the mid-80s, so it wasn't that scary. His first stop-motion animated thing was The Adventures of Mark Twain. He animated that in Portland, Oregon, as that's where the studio was. Then, in '87, he moved to LA, where he animated Penny, a claymation character on the Pee-wee's Playhouse show. In 1986, he founded his own production company, Sneeze, which he co-produced things with his wife at the time, Lisa Groening, Matt Groening's sister. This is the same company of his that he went on to produce his claymation shorts, which I'm fixing to show you later, and the main show itself of Hey Arnold. He started working in claymation in '87 on the Pee-wee's Big Playhouse show, and that's when he founded his company, and later in the late '80s and early '90s started producing his own clay shorts of his character Arnold. This is the first Hey Arnold short that was produced in 1990, called Arnold Escapes the Church, where he's in a pew and in a church sermon, but he's a 9-year-old boy just using his imagination and escaping the church. This is a still from the second one, called the Arnold Waltz, where he is in music class playing the flute but fantasizing with the music, as he does in all three of these shorts, just using his imagination and fantasizing as the beautiful music plays. This was Craig's last claymation short of the Hey Arnold main character Arnold Shortman, before the show got picked up by Nick. And this particular one was also shown on Sesame Street to emphasize him using his imagination, which he does in this short. He gets into this fancy chair and straps himself in and goes around the universe, to the dinosaurs, to down to the store, you name it, that's where he goes. Because he goes anywhere and everywhere in his imagination and in the chair. And that was the point Sesame Street was trying to get around. As a publicity campaign for The Simpsons show, there was a Simpsons magazine called Simpsons Illustrated that coincided with the show itself. Craig was married to Lisa Groening, Matt's sister at the time, so he let him publish 9 publicity-seeking Hey Arnold comics of what would become the show later, as a publicity point to pitch his idea to the networks in the comic, in the magazine. They were called the Hey Arnold comics. Similar to how Rocko's Modern Life's episode Trash O Madness was also its pilot, but animated with different colors and stuff, the 24 Hours to Live episode was originally shown as a short before the Nick movie Harriet the Spy, but didn't get picked up as an actual episode until later on into the actual show, retitled 24 Hours to Live. The original short was just simply called Arnold, and it was a short subject cartoon similar to the Looney Tunes and the Warner Brothers movies that was shown before the movie Harriet the Spy with Michelle Trachtenberg and Rosie O'Donnell. And it was about, just like in 24 Hours to Live, he accidentally hits the town bully Harold Berman, but at that time he didn't have a name. That's who the character's name became, and he was originally going to just beat him up right then and there, but Helga has the idea to give him 24 hours to live, or dangle as his grandpa put it, and he goes to his grandpa for advice later in the episode and asks, what am I going to do? And he says, I have no idea. But he eventually comes up with the idea on his own and acts like he's crazy and a goofball He says, "Harold, I'm crazy, and you should never hit a crazy person." And then, impressed by his dance that he does, he says, "Arnold, you really are crazy. Want to join our club?" The short was shot in 1994, but was not released until 1996 with the Harriet movie as a companion piece. The success of the movie and the short got the show greenlit by Nickelodeon in 1996. This is the title card from Hey Arnold. It ran from 1996 to 2000 in production value, but it ran episode-wise until 2004 because they strengthened the airing 3 years past the production. Production wrapped in 2001, and they continued airing episodes until 2004. This is the main protagonist, Arnold, a boy that lives with his grandparents and has wilderness Indiana Jones-like scientist parents that go across the world, circumnavigating the world, using their science smarts and biology smarts to help the mysterious Indian-like green-eyed people that go back generations with that family. He is left with his grandparents, thinking that they'll be gone for maybe a week or a month, and then they'll come back and get him. But they're presumed his parents to be lost or just not heard from again until the Jungle movie when he finds them. But he is the moral compass of the show, the doer of right versus wrong, the it factor of the show, if you will. This is Gerald Johansson, or Gerald Martin Johansson as his full name. It's Arnold's best friend. He's the cool dude at school, the hipster, the hip man, but also the guy that knows all the legends. And he knows good people from bad people. Just ask Gerald and his friend Fuzzy Slippers. But behind the scenes at Gerald's house, you'll find that he has a very more normal family relationship than a stereotypical 90s kid, or than Arnold or anybody else. He has a more normal one than anybody really on the show. His dad's an electric bill fanatic. His mom is a grocery store bag person. His older brother is a stereotypical jock, and his little brother Timberly is your stereotypical little rascal of a sister or brother. But all in all, through all of that, he's Mr. Cool and calm, cool and collected, and is always by Arnold's side on the show. This is Helga Pataki, the main antagonist on the show, but in my opinion, it's kind of like Beast from Beauty and the Beast. Ugly on the outside, but has a heart of gold on the inside, because she really is nice to the characters that she is not nice to all the time on the show. She does have feelings for her friend Phoebe and Arnold, and she really can be nice. But she comes from a narcissistic dad, an alcoholic mom, a perfectionist, perfect sister that her parents view as perfect. You learn all of this on Helga on the Couch. It's not her per se that's this way. It's because of the neglect and the look down upon they have on that character and that family. The Pataki family, other than her sister, doesn't care about Helga. So she's this bully type of thing as a protectant also, because she reveals when she first started showing feelings for Arnold, people were teasing her, so she bullies to prevent people knowing how she really feels. Because she really does, she is a caring person to a certain extent, and she can be. But the bullying thing is a protected to herself. But she is also jealous of her perfect sister that's had straight A's since she was in the 3rd grade, and she is now in college on the show. And the sister doesn't realize her disdain that her younger sister has for her. She thinks they're best friends. But Big Bob and Miriam, they also neglect her. Big Bob is narcissistic person that only thinks about himself and making more money in his Big Bob's Big business. So then there's that. But then her mom, like I said earlier, her mom is completely... There are so many signs if you watch this show, or watched it as a kid in the 2000s or the 90s, that she's an alcoholic. But what we never really find out until we get older and realize it. Like, she hugs that blender and takes it with her to the beach like it's a teddy bear. Leaves her purse on the roof of the car. Her mom is just as bad as her dad, but in a different way. Spoiler alert, though, for people that haven't seen the Jungle movie or any of the better scenes of the Arnold show, she actually shows caring towards Arnold and other characters. And she isn't the only one that knows about her Arnold thing. Phoebe knows about her characteristic with Arnold and her, about their love for one another. She treats Phoebe like a slave, essentially, but she cares for Phoebe, and she cares for Arnold and Gerald and the majority of the show's kid characters. She just has a weird way of showing it. That was the three primary kid characters on the show. Now I'm going to talk about the secondary kid characters and the primary adult characters. This is one of the primary adult protagonists on the show, Grandpa Phil, or Phil, Arnold's grandpa, who is 81, but an old feisty character similar to Abe Simpson on The Simpsons. And don't let his age fool you. He is still kind of like a Silly Phil persona. He's with it. He is very with it. He's a very healthy and smart person for his age. Kind of a zany person and wacky, but not senile like his wife. He is just kind of goofy. His favorite singer as a kid and as a young adult, and even till now, was Dino Scamoni, a take on Frank Sinatra, which was also his wife's. Gertrude's, Pookie is her nickname, favorite singer too. He is the one character on the show that is around, since he doesn't have his regular dad. He goes around giving Arnold what one might presume is fatherly-like advice, which ends up being good advice. But he's also been known to tell tall tales, legends if you will, like the legends of the haunted train and the legends of the hidden cabbie. Although Dan sounds very, very different from his Simpsons persona characters like Homer and Barney and such, he is voiced by Dan Castellaneta from The Simpsons that does Homer. This is Arnold's grandmother, Gertie, or Pookie as she's called, nickname by Phil. In a flashback, when Phil is trying to tell Arnold that the teasing from Helga is probably because she likes him, it reveals that Gertie was the Helga of Phil's timeline, and he got teased by her because she liked him. The flashback version of her was done by Franny Smith, the same person that does the voice of Helga, while her main voice is Tress MacNeille. In her older and more current version is seen of somewhat of a senile 80-something-year-old person, but some people think her craziness comes from losing mouths in the mysterious way that they got lost in the forest years and years ago. Both her and her husband, Grandpa Phil, are willing to jump into anything to help Arnold out, whether it's on Parents' Day or some liberal hippie type thing like rescuing that turtle or stopping the building from being torn down like the Circle Theater or something like that. She is a philanthropist and humanitarian in her own right, like when she didn't want Mighty Pete to be knocked down. So she is different than her husband in ways, but they're also very, very similar in ways. This is Big Bob Pataki, the main antagonist of the adults on the show of Hey Arnold. A very big narcissistic blowhard, kinda like Bluto from the Popeye shorts. The self-proclaimed booper king of Big Bob's beepers. He's not a very smart person and he's kinda dumb. Because he says there's always people underneath the tree of Mighty Pete, but doesn't notice till the end of the episode that Mighty Pete has a treehouse in it. Because to quote him from the episode, he said, "There's always people around it. It's a natural spot for a beeper store. It's a natural spot for a beeper store." Big Bob is so neglectful to everything around him, specifically his younger daughter Helga. But he loves his older one, Olga. This is Helga Pataki. She was voiced by Nika Flutterman. She is the, according to Miriam and Big Bob, the perfect child. She got straight A's ever since the 3rd grade. She's won every award that the town can give. And she's smarter than all 3 of them combined. Of the other characters, Miriam, Big Bob, and Helga. But she's also a perfectionist. And does all of this stuff to really just seek their approval. This is Helga and Olga's mom, Miriam Pataki. A very, very depressed alcoholic mom that is not dumb when she's sober and is not depressed when she's sober, as seen in The Beeper Queen. When she's sober, she's actually can be just as productive on the show as anyone, even as productive as Big Bob. But she has a nicer demeanor to herself than him when she's sober. This is Harold Berman, the secondary antagonist and sometimes more of a friend. It depends on the episode. Sometimes he's a bully, sometimes he's a friend. He's a big, overweight 13-year-old boy that's from Jewish heritage and has a Jewish mom and a Jewish dad. And he even has a bar mitzvah in the show. But the bullying thing and tough thing, he's just kind of a tough on the exterior. On the inside, he's nothing but a mama's boy, and always crying, "Mommy, Mommy," when something goes wrong. But he's really a good friend deep down. As short-tempered as he can be, as seen in 24 Hours to Live, he can also be very timid in the episode Harold's Cat, that he nicknames Cupcake. He is also seen doing screwball things with Sid and Stinky throughout the show. Little insignificant pranks and whatnot. Unlike Arnold and most kids in their class that are around the same age, Harold is 13. He got held back a handful of years. Just like Torvald. He's old enough to be in junior high, but he's in the 4th grade. This is one of Arnold's other friends, Sid. He's superstitious, germophobic, but he's a good friend deep down. In the germophobic episode, he finds that he loves frogs and loves getting messy until he sees a germophobic video in class and then develops a fear of germs. He also has a keen eye for superstitions and negative stereotypes like that, like the time he made the Mr. Ward's doll and he thought that he killed the principal, but it was just a series of misunderstandings. He also has a tendency to get himself involved with people he shouldn't get involved with, like when he got involved with Big Gino, this school mobster person on the show, which was a parody of The Godfather. This is Stinky Peterson, the residential hick or country boy of Hillwood. He was originally from Arkansas, but his family left during the Dust Bowl back in the 1930s and 40s. And it shows them taking their cabin and literally putting it into Hillwood from Arkansas, similar to the Beverly Hillbillies. And a big Beverly Hillbillies Model T type truck too. He is also a keen teaser and prankster, usually with Harold and Sid. Like the time that they messed with Eugene's bike and he ended up in a wheelchair. The time that they mooned the principal and let Arnold take the fall for it. It was both Stinky, Harold, and Sid, and they all 3 did those pranks. The 3 of them together are kind of like the 3 Stooges. They're always seen 3 of them doing crap together. Even though he has the reputation of a dumb country hick, he's actually one of the smartest people in Arnold's class. He once got into in a paid relationship with his favorite candy bar, Mr. Nutty Bar, with Helga, a fake relationship in order to try to make Arnold jealous, but ends up having a fondness for her, which she doesn't reciprocate, and ends up going to the anti-Helga character that's named Gloria as a girlfriend as a replacement. This is Eugene Horowitz, a character that's Jewish and also named after Michael Landon. He is the class Jinx. He was voiced by Ewing for 5 episodes in season 5. His earliest known voice person on the show was Chris Castile from the Beethoven movies and Step by Step. Then he was replaced by Jarrett Lennon for the rest of season 1 and partly through season 2. And then Jarrett was replaced by Ben Dixon and then Blake Ewing. As mentioned before, he was the class and school Jinx of the group. He had a positive, upbeat demeanor about the character. He was very positive, but he was so unlucky. He was born on Friday the 13th. So fan theory about the show is that's why he's so unlucky, because he was born on Friday the 13th. That being the most unlucky day of the year, if you're superstitious. But all kinds of unlucky, and I mean really unlucky things happen to him. He causes parades to crash. He got stuck on a roller coaster. He, just everything that anyone could think of. His bike fell apart that he got from Flag Day. Anything and everything that one could think of always happens to the Eugene character. He also falsely believes that every one of his bad things has always happened when he was around Arnold, so he thinks he's the Jinx, but it's the other way around. This is Phoebe Heyerdahl, the smartest person in Arnold's class, but she's also a bit of a smartest person / perfectionist. She's Helga's best friend / sidekick, and also a very timid character that does whatever, and I mean whatever, Helga wants. But she has a tendency to stand up for herself finally, like in the episode when she becomes the hall monitor after Helga. But other notable episodes where she is taken advantage of by Helga is Phoebe Takes a Fall, the one where she breaks her leg doing 57 bazillion things for Helga. 2 separate episodes, but I forgot the name of the second one. And as nice and as timid as she can be, when Lila Sawyer first came into class, she was the person that knew a lot of the answers, and she was jealous of her. Phoebe was jealous of Lila, so she becomes part of the bullying group that's going to bully her and try to get her to want to leave class, believe it or not. Which goes back into her perfectionist and OCD-ness about being right and perfect all the time. From time to time, she does show normal kid her age things, like she's obsessed with Ronnie Matthews until she finds out that he's a Milli Vanilli type. This third part of this video is going to be honorable mention characters of characters that I've mentioned but I haven't shown a picture of yet, or characters I haven't mentioned at all but are part of the series. In the Magic Show episode, when they make quote-unquote Helga disappear, this is the anti-Helga that she dreams up in a fantasy in that episode where she knocks herself unconscious and has a dream sequence, but is later revealed to be a real person, and a really and truly anti-Helga that actually dresses like her and looks similar to her, but she's prettier and she's nicer. This is Lila Sawyer, Arnold's crush and wannabe girlfriend and boyfriend relationship. After the episode Miss Perfect, she first appears in the episode Miss Perfect, and she comes from a farm town called Pleasantville, moving to Hillwood and going to PS 118, and her dad is searching for work, and he eventually gets the job, and they move to a better house, but she started out living in a ghetto type area. Even though she became a mainstay on the show, she didn't appear till season 2, episode 30B, the second segment in episode 30, called Miss Perfect. This is Ruth P. McDougal, Arnold's first crush in the first season. She is a 6th grade girl, so she's 2 years older than Arnold. And in the Jungle movie, she is a 7th grade girl. At least until the end, where he's in the 6th grade and she's in the 8th grade. But this is a one-sided crush. She might like him a little bit, but little is known about her other than they look alike, and that she might smile at him. It's just a one-sided crush on the first season of Arnold, that Arnold is infatuated with her. Until he meets Lila in season 2, episode 30B. This is Miss Slovak, the teacher from season 1 and a little bit onward in season 2, but it's just because of continuity errors. She was replaced by, in season 2, the new teacher, Mr. Simmons. This is Arnold's teacher for the remainder of the series, from season 2, episode 1 onward. For the most part, except there were season 1 episodes with Miss Slovak that aired in season 2 out of continuity error. He isn't just a caricature of a homeroom teacher. He isn't like Miss Slovak. He is Mr. Responsible, kind of like Arnold. He is a bit of what one would call a nerd, but he is also the straight and narrow person of the class. The leader, if you will, type, very similar to Arnold. He is the inspiration person for his class. He gives them all kinds of inspiration in each episode that focuses on him being in the episode. He was voiced by Dan Butler, the same person that did Mr. Sawyer, Lila's dad. Mr. Simmons is the teacher, but he's the relatively nice authority figure on the show at the school. This is Mr. Warts. He is the principal. He is the main authority figure at PS 118. And he is a no-nonsense principal and known to be kind of bullyish, if one could say it, especially in the episode Principal Simmons, but toned down after the episode Principal Simmons. But he still has authority, like in the episode where Harold was suspended for like a month. But as authoritative as he can be a very nice person and friendly at times. This is Rhonda Wellington Lloyd, another kid from Arnold's class that's the richest and most snobbiest person in school, and is really into getting her own way and really into fashion and anything high priced. From 96, when the show started, to 2001 when the show wrapped, she was voiced by Olivia Heck. This is the class kind of nerd and loser, if you will. But don't tell him that to his face, because Curly will snap, as in Curly snaps. Curly might also have a one-sided crush on you, just like ask Rhonda. This is one of the boarders at Arnold's boarding house at Sunset Arms. He is the Czechoslovakian con artist Oskar Kakashka. This character, like I said, is a con artist and a loser. He's never had a job. He lives off of his wife. The only job he ever had was a paper boy, and in the interview that he went with Arnold, the paper people thought that Arnold was doing the job. But he's a 40-something-year-old man that cons everybody in the universe. In the episode where he had a job as a paperboy, he conned Arnold into doing his job for him. But he ends up doing it on his own at the end of the episode. He's also between his mid-40s and early 50s, and he can't read. But he learns how to read in an episode titled Oscar Can Read. This is Susie Kakashka, his former wife. I say former because straight from the horse's mouth, Greg Bartlett said that she left him after the events of the Arnold movie. As said before, he lives off his wife, and all she is a grocery bag person at the grocery. They constantly fight, and she is constantly kicking him out of the house. But not just kicking him out of the house, and throwing pottery at him. Fights that Arnold has to frequently break up. This is the Vietnamese-American boarder, Mr. Nguyen, who sounds very, very Asian when he talks, but when he sings, he sounds like Randy Travis, which is his singing voice. His backstory in Arnold's Christmas, it reveals that he had a daughter way back in the 70s. He gave up the daughter, and they told him that she was going to Hillwood City. He left Vietnam during the war to leave the war, but plus to go back to Hillwood City and find her. It took him 20 years to be reunited with his daughter, but that was Arnold's Christmas present for Mr. Nguyen, as he got him for his Secret Santa. Another characteristic is he is a very simple man and works at a local taco restaurant, and he likes his simple things. like the song that he wrote and sings. This is Ernie Potts, the dwarf or small construction worker that works in construction as a demolition worker, and frequently goes around with Arnold doing, when he has time, doing this or that. In one episode, he was pitted against his grandmother and Mr. Potts. Mr. Potts wanted him to knock down a building that his grandmother wanted him to save. So Arnold was stuck in between a rock and a hard place. He falls in love with this character that is voiced by Jennifer Tilly, a model of sorts that's in the town, but she ends up being very, very discriminative to him towards his height. So they break up, but him and Arnold are kind of like a surrogate father and son type of relationship, or uncle, if you will, until he finds Miles and Stella later in the show, or in the Jungle movie in 2017. A year after production wrapped in 2001, in 2002, they made Hey Arnold the Movie, a movie that Arnold tries to save his neighborhood, which was originally going to be called a TV special called Arnold Saves the Neighborhood, but the big guys in the network wanted it to be a theatrical release. And because the theatrical release was somewhat of a flop, made $15 million on a $3 to $4 million budget, the original sequel movie that he was originally wanting to do as a movie anyway, Arnold the Jungle Movie, got shelved until they redid it in 2017. In between the original airing of Arnold, after they quit producing it, and the new Jungle movie that was released in 2017, he created Dinosaur Train from 2009 to 2020 for PBS. The reason why the show has the name Jim Henson in it, but Craig Bartlett created it, is he created it, but it was produced by the Jim Henson Company. Another show that he created in the 2010s for PBS was Ready, Jet, Go, an anthropomorphic plane family, about an anthropomorphic plane family show that is set around plane education and sci-fi. Well, that's it for today's video. Join me next week for Double D in the Friday Morning, episode 44, The History of Cartoons, part 35, The History of the Nicktoons. This liked picture is the thumbnail for my new video. And remember, if you like this video and you want to watch my next video, remember to like, subscribe, and comment, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when my next video is uploaded. And remember to follow me on Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram, TikTok, and my Facebook fan group, Drew's YouTube fan group.